1. Howdy.
Ahoy.
We are just as energetic as ever because it's literally 5 minutes after Jordan froze and came back.
We figured we'd call it good and cut to our second episode.
Yeah, we just did a costume change. Like, we literally, this is what we did, was we went into our hampers and grabbed clothes and went like, this will work. Let's just make this a thing.
And the best part is we'll never bring this up again. So if you actually decide to listen to our first 2 episodes in 6 months, you'll know how we do this. The secrets.
Wait, we're not going to bring this up again? Okay, fine.
If we do. I mean, I could just be saying stuff. Who knows?
Yeah. Anyways, so we actually have a topic for this one. The last one was an introduction. Hopefully you all didn't actually call 1-800-JORDAN-1 because it probably didn't go anywhere.
It probably won't. I honestly should go buy that phone number and 10 cents a minute.
Yeah.
And I'll have burrito money forever.
Did you hear about the story about the supposedly there's a guy who put his number online or something, and it was like a 1-800 number, so every time people called him, he made money off of it.
Yep.
It's genius.
That's where I got the idea. I really want to do that.
Yeah, would you like to extend your car warranty? Yeah, just stay online with me as long as possible, please.
Sure.
Alright, so this week's topic and agenda, we are going to be talking about introduction games, the games that we would love to introduce to our moms, or first date. First date games, maybe. Now, these are the games that for most of us are the games that, you want to introduce new players to, or if you're a new GM and you want to start learning how to play. There's a number of games out there, and yes, I know the norm is to run a Dungeons & Dragons campaign because that is what, and we are not saying that's wrong, like, totally chill. You want to run Dungeons & Dragons?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, if you want to run D&D, it's cool. I have no qualms with D&D. I've been a D&D'er most of my life, but for a new GM, jumping into Dungeons & Dragons, it is a lot. Like if you're trying to run it, it's a lot. It's not intuitive. It's very like rule heavy, and I've seen and if you've got the wrong table, they will eat you alive.
I always try to remind people when they're like, hey, I'm gonna start a new game or try to introduce somebody to the hobby. I always try to remind them that what you are basically asking someone is to give them a textbook. Like most games are a textbook.
Yeah, and it's a lot of stuff to remember. Like, and the problem is new GMs, you are going into the reality that you are in a saturated market, and you are playing against, you're going to be trying to entertain people that have probably seen really good GMs at least once or twice, who have done this like it's breathing to them. Like, I can create a number of encounters out of nothing. And I've seen so many tricks and strategies for like seasoned DMs that you're just like, oh yeah, like if you're new, that's what you're competing against. And it's like, oh yeah, but my friends are really cool. I'm like, yeah,
that's
great. It's awesome.
Really all it takes is because a lot of people that just show up to the hobby, they just kind of, I'm here now. How do we roll the die? Like they don't know what Dimension 20 is. They don't know what a Critical Role is.
No, and that's great.
Yeah, they at most maybe mentioned it offhand on their Facebook, and Facebook was like, yes, I will now algorithm at you, and got a bunch of short clips of some guy making wizard meme jokes.
Yeah. But if for those of you who are looking for other options and want to try other games and are looking for other things that may not necessarily be D&D, and you don't have to shoehorn D&D into what you want. That doesn't mean you shouldn't shoehorn D&D into what you want. If that's what you want to do it. We'd be totally cool with it. There's a lot of people who make mods for it, and
that's a little bit of a different conversation to have.
Yeah, that's another conversation to have. Like, But there are games that do some things really, really well for introductions, and we are going to go over some of these games. We do not have a list. We do not have anything prepared. Well, maybe Jordan does, but I sure as heck have nothing prepared because I am never a prepared individual.
All I really have in front of me is my giant pile of PDFs to kind of go over stuff.
Yeah. So I'm gonna start with the let's talk about like old school. Like we're gonna go to the old school stuff, and then I'm gonna talk about some old school stuff. Hopefully Jordan is not frozen. No, he's just in contemplation. He skipped for a second there. You saw it, people, right? Yeah. So we'll start with the old school because it's always important to talk about where we were in the past because every gamer is gonna be like, okay, do you want to start in the past? Because some people want to like build off of the originals, the OG games. Yeah. So if you want to go into the OG games, my top three choices to get into are GURPS, Traveler.
Definitely Traveler. Traveler's a good idea.
And if you really want to, jump into the Universal system and try like the Call of Cthulhu. Like Cthulhu gets you horror, Traveler gets you science fiction, and GURPS gets you like a wide medium range, and it's considered the anti-D&D. Like if you're gonna go into the old schools, those are the three games that like are really good. Traveler gives you some unique things like character building, like the whole character thing journey is a game itself. Like a lot of people don't realize that like if you play Traveler, the starting part of it is this game where you make decisions about your life, about like rolling towards the life decisions and how you end up being being this grunt in space. It's a really cool thing. It's also one of the very few games where in character creation you can die.
Like, I love it so much because it's like it's where it comes up where like you want to be psychic, and I was like, yes, of course I want to be psychic. And then you try to roll to end up with that, and if you like completely bungle that roll, like something like out in space just like eats your consciousness.
Yes, you died in character creation. Yeah,
you're gone. Like just
start a new character.
You're gone.
And that's really cool. It's like something they were like, we're just gonna build this into the system, deal with it. GURPS is a D6 system, I believe. I've played it on a number of occasions. It's multifaceted. You can do a lot of things with GURPS. GURPS has been around forever.
Roll low. I will fully admit, because there's a bunch of big games I just haven't gotten around to yet. GURPS is one of them. But from my understanding, GURPS is you roll low instead of rolling high.
Yeah. And then if you want to go Universal System, which is the Call of Cthulhu, I believe that's isn't that more? I'm not even remembering what the dice is. That percentile? No, it's not.
It is percentile, yeah. And it has it's percentile, and it's for every like 10 that you do something. Like if you roll to do a task in like archaeology or whatever, and it's for every 10 you succeed over like a target number, like you get bonuses.
Yeah. And the final thing I'll throw in there is just because some people may want to like hark back to it. Let's like talk about like the Ghostbusters game or the Indiana Jones game or the original D6 Star Wars. The D6 pool dice system, which gave birth to many pool dice systems later on, especially the White Wolf stuff, which we'll get to. Like
everyone talks about the Star Wars D6 system.
Yeah.
Like it's bread. Like
yeah.
Like if you're gonna play Star Wars, go track that down.
But it's never been remade. It's not. It has been like attempted in times, but it's never had the staying power that like Traveler or GURPS or because I don't think the company just ever like I think it's West End Games. I don't think the company ever really pushed to keep it like. I think they went out of business, and I think that's just kind of the way it rolled.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really know, but from my understanding, it's just like their license ran out.
Yeah. But so that's the reason I can't really say like those are the Star Wars D6, even though it's a very well loved system. It's also impeccably difficult to get your hands on. Like impeccably difficult to get your hands on. but you can still get copies. You can still get GURPS, you can still get Traveler, and you can still get Call of Cthulhu. And Universal System has been made into other things. It actually has an open SRD that you can bridge off of if you want to, I believe. And a lot of people have, and it's an open SRD that people did, and so like you can just type it in Universal System and you will find it, and it's easily downloadable, I believe. And Cthulhu is very famous. Actually, did you know Cthulhu is the most famous game in Japan?
I did actually know that, and I love that. Especially with recently, for some reason, I remember reading this in an article that I cannot remember the source of, but Wizards is trying to pull out of the Japanese market.
That's not surprising. I think they tried to pull out of the Russian market too. Or like not Russia, well before that, like they were. I think I saw a creator saying that like in Eastern Europe even, I can remember, but I did see a creator saying that that D&D is pulling out of their market and making it harder for them to get books like in their languages and stuff. So they're pulling back across certain markets, I think. So we'll see how that's gonna play out. I think that's gonna be.
And it was
Don't freeze! Don't freeze!
Yeah, I say something. For a recent anime called Faraway Paladin started a petition for Wizards to keep printing books in Japanese.
Yeah, I've seen that. I've seen things like that around.
Yeah, because the author uses the game to actually write Faraway Paladin, which is not that uncommon, actually. That's something we'll have to talk about.
Yeah, that's another topic for a future. About I think there's days we can wax on poetic about Dungeons and Dragons. But yeah, so our old school. I'm gonna one more time. Traveler GURPS or Call of Cthulhu are really great intro games for you to try. Now let's talk about OSRs, because I think this is the secondary to school, because once we've gone from old school games, now we want to go old school revival games, and I think this is more of a Jordan thing, who can talk about certain games that he
somehow it ended up being my thing. Like I ended up just in the OSR group, but fun little thumbtack on this little pin to remember: if you decide to go down this little well of OSR, there are some people who will be mean and rude for no reason because you're new to this area of games.
Yeah.
And that's something you gotta remember, and it sucks.
Yeah.
But keep looking. There's always a cool table to sit at. People who are willing to open up their hearts for whatever you have going on, and to make the game fun and enjoyable for you.
Yeah.
So these games I picked because they give you a good idea of like putting limits on roleplay. Like, cool, playing pretend is fun, but playing pretend with rules makes you a tiny bit more imaginative.
Yeah. Jordan, before we get into that, let's talk about what is OSR exactly. Some people may not be aware of what OSR is out there.
OSR stands for Old School Revival, or what I thought it was Original System Rules. And they use the term original literally, as in like people want to remake like the first Dungeons and Dragons edition, like from way back in the day when it was just played by people in basements. There are like people like playing the first edition of games, or like the first time something came out, or like old stuff, just because some of those rules are a little grittier or more lethal or stuff like that. That I just kind of want to build like an environment where your character, because they've lasted so long, means more, and instead of like nowadays people kind of have it in their head that like with 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons, which is the current one, is that because your character can basically survive anything, it doesn't mean as much and the game is bad. Again, that funny little pin we talked about earlier. Some people have weird hang-ups about playing pretend with dice.
Yeah. Well, there's a sense of, in OSR, the system and the GM are king more so. Not necessarily like they rule though. There's more of like your job is to like your job isn't necessarily like there's a the split has happened where, and I believe, and if anyone's watching this, and they might correct me, tell me I'm wrong, I'm not sure, but I believe that a lot of this really stems from the Forge, and a lot of like where current modern games started now is from the Forge, and it's developed into two schools. There's this school of thought that is the system rules, the GM rules. The players are just players. They're there to play a game, and they're there to play their characters, and they're there. And if their characters don't survive in the world, and if their characters can't, that's cool. But the autonomy is there their autonomy ends at the character. The rest of it is based on the game, based on the GM. The other side, yeah.
I do subscribe to that a little bit, but like. There's definitely a limit.
Yeah, and then the other side of it is player autonomy. Player autonomy goes beyond their character. They almost get to like impose their will and direction into the world, and that's more of these collaborative, story-focused indie games that have sort of popped up over the last couple of years. It's very much like, I'm a GM, but I'm more of a referee. I'm more of a collaborator. We're working together to tell the story. I'm not necessarily like imposing the game rules. We can take the game rules and throw them out the window. Who gives a crap? What we're doing here is something that we're creating together. And this is sort of what's sort of defined the two areas of like OSR and indie.
Which brings me to my first recommendation. But continue.
Go ahead. I don't want to detract for too long. I just wanted to intro into like where we are.
Yeah, my first recommendation, which kind of hits that like that real middle sweet spot that Gilbert was talking about between like DM input and player input, basically hitting this nice little symphony. And it, like, if you've known me or you follow me on Twitter, you'll know I just don't shut up about Troika. Troika is it's a great game. It's literally my perfect game. It does everything I want a game to do. It does everything I could make a game want to do. No one rolls for character classes. There's I believe it's 36 backgrounds you can play, and each one is basically giving you a paragraph of flavor text that doesn't answer completely, so it does want you, the player, to kind of fill in some of those gaps. But a lot of those gaps are basically like, hey, your DM's gonna ask you, like, what does it mean to be a wizard of doors? Or like a member of the Sharp Corners Bureau. Like, what do these mean? And like you, as the player, is just like, oh, that means, we study like portals and such, and like, where does this go? But also, I spend way too much time on the Discord talking with all the other people who play this game, and a lot of the house rules are cool and interesting. Whereas if you roll on a skill for the first time that you just don't have, you just get to add it if you succeed, because it turns out you're good at it.
Yeah.
The second one I'm going to recommend is any game that's powered by the apocalypse. Specifically, any of like the larger Frontier ones, like Masks, or even the new Avatar Legends game. They use what's called our playbooks, which is is a fun little thing. Instead of it being a character class that you would see, like a fighter or a wizard, it's more of like a brief list of like, here's generally how you want to operate. Like, here's your step in the narrative, and then like as you play on, you'll have positions to fill and like criteria to meet that allows you to do certain things. So if you've hurt someone or done something or said something specifically to affect a character in X, it allows you to do Y.
Yeah.
Which I think is very, very cool.
Yeah. Me personally, I wouldn't recommend some of the heavier PPTAs, the larger ones, because some of the rule sets go a little bit in weird directions at times. Like, for me personally, like, I do love mass, but the fact that you can go up or down on your stat lines can really throw off new players, personally. We had a conversation with a friend recently, like, Monster of the Week is an amazing game, but because the magic system is completely open, it's very difficult if you're not a creative person. Like, trying to create up magic ideas or come up with rituals and stuff on the spot can be difficult. If we were to say, like, okay, so what's a really good intro game? My opinion is I would say Dungeon World is a really good spot.
Yes.
It's just a really good spot to open up into. It's a really great thing. And for people listening at home or watching this, the 5 of you, PPTA falls on the other side, which is the more indie side of things. So they're more less. They're not. It's not an OSR. Going back to OSR, there is a smorgasbord of games out there. I think the last winner of the Emmy Award was an OSR game.
Yes, the end of the year for the uninitiated is the end of the year, like, big, like, you're the best game that came out this year, like, as decided on by, like, a panel of 5 chosen people, like, a month before, and they kind of just look at all of the nominees. It's like, this is the best design game.
It's the game that's I think it's like the one that's about delving deep into the ground and fighting monsters and stuff. I hear it's an amazing...
Heart the City Beneath.
Heart the City Beneath, yeah.
Yeah, which I have right in front of me, and I have skimmed it. I can see how it won.
Yeah, and the things about it is OSR games that are coming out are gorgeous books. Like, they are well designed. A lot of the OSRs I've looked at are really well designed books, and like I have been impressed with like the art and the styling and it's very stylistic. It's very like there's definitely a very like Morkborg, Troika, like Bastionland. The art in those things are it's just like a color book. It's like it's colorful, it's vivid, and honestly, like, in my opinion, for being like the grindy, feely game, like those games like that are less, like that are that way, it's surprising how gorgeous some of these books are coming out, and I'm just like, wow.
Like, even Troika, again, because you gave me a link, I'm gonna take it. Troika, everything is watercolor.
Yeah.
Like, and if it's not watercolor, it's this really cool, like, psychedelia, like, geometric, like, doodles. If you like the game itself is even, like, the creators even describes, like, if Discworld and Hitchhiker's Guide basically, like, took a bunch of drugs and then went on a road trip, this is what they would have ended up writing together on the way there.
In terms of like what other games I might consider recommending for PPTA, I think Thirsty Sword Lesbians is really good. I think
it's pretty good, especially if you as a queer person are like, hey, this stuff looks cool, but like, what is it saying to me? There are actually plenty of queer creators out there. If you quick Google, you'll see a ton of stuff. And Thirsty Sword Lesbians it's definitely like like funny joke, but like a lot of the humor is born from a queer development team. So, yeah.
And then once you go from PPTA, we have the road diverges again, and it diverges into 2 spots. It goes into forged system, and then it goes into outside belonging or belonging outside belonging, which is 2 separate systems that are developed outside of PPTA. And of those, now we're starting to get really nitpicky, but Forge has some great games too. So if you want to build bases with your friends, and if you want to build, like, you want to get more deep into the world creation, and that's the feeling you want to have, that really grindy feel of like fighting the darkness, and like Blaze in the Dark is the first one that started it all. Like everybody has to
It's
like.
the dark age. It is really good. I have a good friend he's writing a Blades in the Dark campaign, and as soon as he's done, he wants to run me for the people through it. So that'll be my first time doing that.
Yeah.
Fate Core. Why are we not talking about Fate Core?
I think that's a separate system. We're just trying to stay on the line of like.
Right.
Stay organized. We'll get to Fate.
Fate.
I know. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
No, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it. I promise. We'll get to Fate.
Yeah.
Which I'm not a big fan of.
Fair. My last recommendation to come back to jumping on track is the cipher system.
Yeah.
I 100% will admit the cipher system does still fall into that. This is a textbook you are giving someone issue. So it's a little daunting, but it's one book. It's a little thick, but within that thick book is everything you need to play that game. Right off the bat, you'll barely have to look anything up, except for a little weird method of the D20. But once you have it written out in front of you and like a table to quick reference, which again is like numbered in the book, so that's super easy to look up. But once you get past like a little bit of weird math, Cypher is super cool, and the character creation is amazing.
Yeah, Cypher is a really good thing. I've only gotten to play it when someone nerfed it a little bit, so I wasn't able to see what the system can do because they're trying to intro people into it. So I'd really like to like deep into it. Like, and there's a number of really cool games out there. I think my last recommendation, just because we were talking about OBO, and I gave a Blades recommendation, is I have to go on the BOB, not belonging outside belonging, is that I have to go on the other side of things, and I should recommend Homeward. I think it's Homeward. Is it Homeward from J Dragon?
Homeward from J Dragon. I'm thinking
Homebound, home something. I don't know.
I think the game you're talking about.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna have to look it up.
I know the game you're talking about, but because you and I are like entrenched neck deep in the community every day, we see like so many games.
Yeah. But you want to talk about Fate, so let's talk about Fate to sort of, like, let's talk about some of the other game systems, the big game systems that are out there. Like, Fate,
I will 100% admit, Fate is absolutely one of those systems that looks super fun to play and really cool. I have the book on my shelf. I'm looking at my computer right now. I've seen it played so many times. Every time I've tried to read this book, it has been a shame. I cannot rock this system. There's just something in my brain just refuses to like the A, B, C. I don't. But considering how little open-ended it is, and like how neat it is to just kind of let you literally create a character from scratch, like it barely offers you. Like it'll kind of walk you through an example character, but the rest of the game kind of just like you can just make whatever.
Yeah. By the way, the name of the game is Wander Home.
Thank you, Wander Home.
Yeah, I was like, oh, it's gonna bother me, and I'm just terrible at names. So terrible at names.
I was gonna say because I think I do follow those people, and they're very nice.
Yeah, they are, and I'm not. I forget the name of games, a lot. Unfortunately.
When you look at as many as we do, I feel like it's okay.
Yeah, there's a number of other games that are out there. Savage World is an amazing game. I think we're just gonna like throw out some random things out here. A really fun one to play if you're if you want to play more of a
They're coming for you.
Yeah, they are.
You're a nerd.
Now I've completely forgot what I was talking about.
You were talking about Savage Worlds, and I think you were going to go into talking about other big games.
Yeah, Numenera is a really good one out there. I think
also powered on the Cypher system. Really fun.
I mean, in all honesty, we could probably spend a whole thing just talking about random games. So we will eventually talk about those, but these are some of our recommendations. I like some. I think old school stuff is fun. But me personally, like, if you're gonna be a player for the first time, play Dungeons and Dragons. Just be real.
Yeah,
Just join the crowd and try it, because the only thing that we're ever gonna have a problem, you're never going to understand, like, what the world is about because everything diverges from Dungeons and Dragons.
It does. That's the zeitgeist at the moment. Like
Yeah.
everything. Like if you walk into a game store and ask like, hey, I want to get into playing an RPG, they're probably going to point you at Dungeons and Dragons before any of the other games we've talked about.
But if you're looking, once you get through like a couple of games of that and you want to try other games, there is Troika, there is Wander Home, there is Blades in the Dark, there's Fate, there is a number of really great games. And in my opinion, like, okay, so to wrap up our show,
yes,
we all know what you're gonna say is the one game that you'd recommend to starting people. But let's entertain each other with that notion. What is the one game? Like, if all games suddenly disappeared tomorrow and we had just one game left and that would be the intro game to speak about TTRPG forever, what would it be?
I'm 100%. I will say Troika.
Yeah.
Because it is, at the end of the day, it's a great system. It covers a lot of ground. The rules are actually quite simple to get your head around, and it only needs 2d6. So that's something that you could go into your closet, crack open your old Monopoly game, take the dice out of those, and you just have this book that's about like this. Hold on, let me go get it.
Okay, everybody, we're gonna hide. Ready? 1, 2, 3, hide.
Where did you go?
I'm back.
I thought you left me. No, but this is Troika. It's literally about this big. It's not huge at all. Like pen for scale. Like it covers basically everything you need to run this game right in it, and all it needs is two six-sided dice, which like I said, you get out of a game of Monopoly.
Yeah. And for me, my answer to this question is I don't have one. I just don't. It's just there's too many, like.
Yeah, there's too many.
We had if you listen to our Saturday podcast, I'm gonna say this as if this is in the past, but if you listen to our podcast with Starshine Scribbles a week ago from this current podcast, we had a discussion about where are we in games? Like, are we at the stage of like so? Has the big disruptor game come out that's sort of like changed the industry yet? And I don't think we've seen it yet. Like the one ring to rule them all, but like something in that level of like grabbing. Like I think people have gotten pretty like heavily influenced, but that thing that can really like shake Dungeons and Dragons, like I haven't seen it yet. And that's the game I'm waiting for.
Yeah, like there definitely is a list of like top 5 games in the world. Call of Cthulhu, Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, and the other 2 basically change depending on where you are standing specifically at that moment. We do need a quote unquote 6th game that makes the other 5 sweat, and I agree. I don't think there is one yet.
Yeah.
I mean, like I could sit here and tout Troika all day, every day, but there are like it's a hard sell. I will admit because of just the cover art. But there are people out there, me included, who do make games specifically for the idea of you're new to this hobby, and it would be really neat if you played something small first to kind of work yourself up to. Again, like this is my thought process. So you're gonna hear me say it a bunch of times. You're not handing someone a textbook.
Yeah.
You're handing someone like a brochure or a booklet.
Yeah. And if you want something that's super light and super easy and super just fast to pick up, the just my last recommendations to throw out there just because, and then I need to make one more plug for one thing, because so I recommend Lady Blackbird, which is from 111 Design, whatever it is. Lady Blackbird is an amazing game. It's a free game. It has pre-made characters. It has a pretty well junctioned story. It is an awesome thing to try to play one time. Because the story you can't really like you can I know people played multiple times, but the story all the characters are already pre-made. It is a great game to play one time, like for people, because you probably be like, oh, I'm not surprised. I've played with someone that played it like 4 different times, and it's like great, but for me, I probably couldn't play it more than once. But it's an amazing first game. And the last thing, because there are people out there that might kill us if we don't say it, don't forget the White Wolf system.
Don't forget White Wolf.
D10s, massive D10s, those vampire, werewolf, magey type people who love it, because I am actually in a vampire game myself right now, and I can tell you that it is a fun thing. It has deep role play.
I I
Yeah,
did hear one guy talking about how he does play with just one D10, and it makes every time he has to roll, it makes it that much more a little more strenuous for him. But he loves it because it's like, okay, cool, it's building that much more tension.
yeah, and White Wolfers are hardcore. Like if people are dedicated to the White Wolf system, they will tell you straight up that they are White Wolfers. And this is not like I'm a White Wolf. No, White Wolfers are White Wolfers. They don't play other systems. It is a whole thing. It's not even doesn't really fall under any umbrella. It came out in the 1990s, and it has been had its own staying power, and it's really does come from that D6 origin of like pool systems. It is one of the
It
few pool system games out there that has
it
had long staying power.
it has a real interesting like grab on people. Like
Yeah.
I have a friend who he talks about Vampire just in general like all the time because he loves the card game. I think he's played. I think in his own words, he's played the game maybe like 4 times, like the actual D10 system. He loves it,
Yeah.
but he's very much a cardboard guy.
Yeah. And it's there's some people that are very dedicated to it. And if I didn't mention White Wolf, I know that I might piss off a couple people. So
Yep.
that one's for
We
you. Please
we
don't come
understand
after
all
us.
we need is yeah, it's a pen, paper, and a handful of D10s.
All right. Well, we are a little bit over time, so me
That's
and
fine.
Jordan will get out of here. But next week, Jordan, what are we talking about?
Next week, I think you and me should delve into the stuff we haven't played yet, but really want to.
Okay, that's a lot of games. Okay, well then
Let's.
we will.
I think we should both pick 3.
Okay, 3 games each, and then we'll also talk about the one AP that we'd run, like our dream AP. And then that's what we'll that. So like I will talk about like because to talk about the backstory and the world of our own dream AP, like that takes some time. So let's talk about the 3 games we haven't played yet that we really want to try, and then let's talk about the other thing. So we'll see you all. If you like this episode, please hit like and subscribe. Check our stuff out below and follow us and all that crap. I am Gilbert S. with the Unnamed Game Co.
I am Jordan T with Zone Fighter Games.
Have a good night.